People talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in the business. Not because they want to do it, just because they heard it pays. And who the fuck wants to be poor knowing that's how we've been raised? Society is getting heavy, I can feel the weight, the pressure of success.
A little bit of sage to get us started here. Cleans this area. Cleanse your area. We all need it right now with everything going on, right? A witch manipulates energy through will, intent, and desire in order to alter the outcome of a given situation. A creator. Every creator leaves their fingerprint on their creation. If somebody writes a book, unless they go out of their way to intentionally not leave their fingerprint, some aspect of them within the book, somebody that knows them would be able to read the book, their mother, for example, and tell that, yes, my son wrote this book. In the same way, we have the mark of the Creator within all of us. We are all creators. And Hermeticism tells us this, right? Through the concept of mentalism. We all create our universe. The world we live in, we create with our mind. For something to be, we must think it first. Amplify that with an understanding of energy, an understanding of how energies interact, an understanding of polarity and gender and mentalism. All of these things that witches study, and we study in the occult. And you get a pretty clear idea as to what makes witchcraft tick. I want to read a little bit from the Hermetica. Keep in mind what you wish to learn, and I will teach you. This is this man who's on this vision journey, okay, and speaking to God, speaking to Pulmonatries. Keep in mind what you wish to learn, and I will teach you. Y'all doesn't say, tell me what you want to know, and I will teach you. It says, keep it in mind, and I will teach you. Pulmonatries is already implying a direct connection to this person approaching the all. Keep in mind, and I will teach you. All was light, a soothing and happy light. And as I gazed, I was entranced. But soon a stark and terrifying darkness descended gradually like a coiled snake, and I saw the darkness turn into a watery substance, unspeakably agitated, giving off smoke as from fire, emanating an undescribable sound of lamentation. And after that, an inarticulate cry like the voice of fire. We're not only talking about creation on a cosmic level, right? If you think about the Big Bang, how the Earth was created, molten rock, ice asteroid. And if you think about the birth process, a watery substance came forth from the darkness, and the bright light he's speaking about, right? Surrounded by light, and all was happiness. It's speaking about the birth process. It's speaking about creation, but on more than one level. Out of the light, a holy word descended upon the watery substance, and I thought this word the voice of light. And unmingled fire leapt out of the watery substance and soared upwards. The fire was quick and violent, and the air, being light, followed the breath, as it rose from earth and water to the fire, so that the breath seemed suspended from the fire. But the earth and water remained intermingled, and the earth could not be seen apart from the water. And these elements were kept in audible motion by the breath of the word hovering above them. But what this is saying is that the word is the creation. What comes from the mind, word is the creation. You have to think something into existence first. I am that light, he said, and I am the mind, the first God who existed before the watery substance appeared out of the darkness. Again, talking about the water breaking from the womb, being in bliss and then seeing the light surround him. It's talking about the birth process. It's also talking about the original creation as science now describes it. It sounds like it's describing the Big Bang. Also is describing the human body. It's as above, so below, right? And that's why that axiom is so important. As above, so below. So it's not just describing the earth and what I just said about the beginnings of the earth and the birth process and that, but it's also describing the human body. The earth and water were intermingled and could not be seen apart. Your body is made of what? Carbon and water. And they cannot be seen apart. You can't take all of your blood out. Without carbon, I don't know. Carbon makes melanin and everything else, so I don't even know if you'd be visible without carbon. It makes pigment, so maybe just be Casper. I don't know. And the luminous word that issued from the mind is the Son of God. Understand that what sees and hears inside you is the word of the Lord. It's Son, but the mind is God the Father. And they are not divided one from the other, for they are united by light. The Word and the mind. The mind is the Father, the God. The Word is the Son. Sound familiar? Nothing comes into existence without first being thought. So how do you come to this conclusion? Well, just look around. Nothing around you could be created without first being a thought in somebody's head. Just like us. And we are all subjective eyes, if you will. We're each a subjective eye of this conscious, omnipotent, omniscient all. The supreme, original consciousness. Understand the fact that everybody's reality is created by mentalism. And pile on what we study in the occult, it makes sense that reality can be altered, lines up. In the same way an author leaves their fingerprint in a book, they all left its fingerprint in all of humanity. The Hermetic tells you this, the Bible tells you this, every major religion in the world basically tells you this. The way I approach that is what I want to discuss here. I approach that as Godhead. That's what I see it as. And I see it as a lowercase g, okay? So we are all a creator. We are all gods, lowercase g. It's not arrogance. It's not blasphemous. It's not going against God by saying that you are a god, that you are part of God, which makes you a god in essence. The way I see all the gods and pantheons of all of these different cultures as rivers, right? And these rivers all lead to the same place, the ocean. Call them by different names if you want, but they all lead to the ocean, to the sea, to the all. The rivers to the ocean, the gods, goddesses to the all. No matter what they have to go through to get there, eventually they get there. And that's how I see all the religions, all the gods and goddesses, all the pantheons of the world. They all get there eventually. With that being said, in the same way we approach understanding Godhead, we have to understand an archetype outside of ourselves to understand that which is within. And this is where understanding of knowledge meets intuition within the world of magic. Certain things are intuitive to a witch. A witch simply knows and understands certain things. Understands that these elements oppose, but how? Feminine, masculine. But you understand the main concept from the get-go, that there's opposition being represented here, that duality is represented here. And those are simple intuitions, but these things come intuitively to a witch. But then there's understanding. There's going further into that. And that's where what I'm talking about with giving an understanding to an external archetype and evoking that into your immediate surrounding. Different traditions refer to it in different ways. The ancient Greeks called it the daemon, which is still used in some witchcraft today, in nocturnal witchcraft. In Constantinos' books, Nocturnal Witchcraft, Gothic Grimoire, the Nocturnican, he refers to it as the daemon and gives advice, techniques on how to connect with your daemon. This is how I found my Godhead. You may just call it your higher self. However you approach that, this is the way I approached it, okay? How I see a witch as a creator. The only way I know how to describe this is to tell you about my Godhead. To me, Pan. Pan to me represents many things. One, the same thing represented with the nekbet and the wadjet on the pharaoh's crown in ancient Egypt. The cobra and the falcon. The bird brain and the reptilian brain. In Christianity, the dove and the serpent. Those two parts of the brain, overcoming that animalistic nature to become more than. In a way, the pentagram represents the same thing. Man having dominion over the elements. And also represents the adversarial archetype. I approach my craft in a Luciferian way a lot of times, so I don't adhere to the threefold law. The idea of creation through the destruction of something old or useless is enticing to me. The idea of the adversary, of Lucifer, not of Satan. I don't believe in Satan. I'll always hold to that. I don't want to give power to such an evil, negative thing that Christians call Satan. Pan to me is another one of those archetypes. Karnanus being another. Pan also to me represents overcoming being an outcast, right? He was outcast by his family, outcast by the gods. He overcame that through music, and he found music through love, right? Well, kind of through obsession, but loved women. He loved the beauty of the nymphs of the wood, and he would chase them, but they ran because they were afraid of it. The word panic comes from his name, Pan. It was said anything that heard his voice would flee in panic, in fear. His voice was so terrifying. And there's other myths that I relate personally with Pan through. Tricking Selene down from the moon, pretending to be a sheep so that he could engage with her. I relate to these ideas of having to put on a facade of something else. I relate to Pan on a very deep level. So you find a deity in which you relate to like that. Pan I see as my Godhead, my connection to my higher self, because I relate to it that deeply. Now how do you evoke that archetype into your surroundings? This is my shrine. I have an image of the God that you can connect with. Whatever that deity is to you, whatever that deity represents to you, you have an image of that God that you can connect with. You play that out within your shrine. And over time, through giving sacrifices, which I'll get into other videos about doing those things, and through meditation, gazing at the face of the imago in front of you and connecting with the deity, that energy, until you literally feel it in your everyday life. And when you're giving these sacrifices, you are giving them to an archetype to begin with, but you're relating to this archetype to bring it up out of yourself. So essentially you're evoking it into your surroundings, but you're also evoking it out of yourself. You're trying to connect with that is within you. You're calling it around you so that you can bring that similar essence within you up out, so that you have a direct connection to the divine, a direct connection to your creative essence. It just makes sense, right? The fingerprint of the Creator left within you and connecting to that and really grasping the concepts of the archetypes and the concepts of why you use the tools that you use. Right? That's why after a while a witch doesn't need tools, because they understand the archetypes of the concepts. So they understand what all that represents without having to use the tool. Now how do you implement this in magic? So instead of seeing a cone of power when I cast a circle, I envision, for several reasons, a square inside of a circle. One, the circle squared, it's a 2,500-year-old puzzle that has never really been solved. Given the rules that the ancient Greeks had to work with, a straight edge and a compass, you cannot square a circle. And even with pi is what is known as a transcendental number, and that fits here. That's what the square within the circle represents. Pi, transcendental. The thing with pi is it's not a constructible number. It's not an algebraic number. It's a transcendental number, and that's fitting, right? And in your mind, you're reconciling the square with the circle, so you're literally creating a magical feat just by envisioning this square within the circle. Not only that, when you turn that into a three-dimensional image, like the cone of power that you visualize, instead of visualizing cone of power, you visualize a pyramid. And by doing so, you can flip that and you have a Merkaba, or the spirit vehicle within your circle. Have as above, so below, represented within your circle, within the cone of power. You have different approaches to conjuring witchcraft available through this technique. I got this idea from Frater Barabbas, Conjuring Spirits for Witches. It reinforces the idea that you are a creator, that you are creating an impossible feat. And think pi is 3.144 ... goes on and on and on and on and on, right? Has no end. So how do you square that? You have to have an end to know what you're squaring it to. It has to be a definite number. And it's not. It's a transcendental number. It transcends that. And that's what you're doing, is you're transcending reality through this visualization of reconciling the square. And you're also creating the Merkaba within the square. One of the 7 Hermetic principles, mentalism. And that's what this video is about. That's the main point of this entire video. As above, so below is represented here. As within, so without. Right? The body and the blood within us, the water and the earth without, the creation of the cosmos, the creation of human beings, the fingerprint we leave within everything we create, and the fingerprint that the Creator left within all of us, and our ability to tap into innate gifts and to combine that intuition with knowledge and understanding of aspects of those intuitions to further our creative powers and to better embrace our creative powers. Engaging with what we see as our divine self, becoming one with that archetype, getting to know it daily, sacrificing, giving for that archetype. For example, if you eat food, when you go to eat dinner, leave a piece of the dinner to the side. And it may seem like you're sacrificing this to something else, and that's blasphemy. No, you're not sacrificing it to something else. In essence, you're sacrificing it to your higher self. You're saying, I'm setting this aside because this part of myself deserves that. Whether you see it as this is bad for me and I shouldn't do it, or whether you see it as this is a gift, you are putting sacrifices upon the altar. I'm talking about whatever that deity finds pleasing. If it's Hecate, baneful herbs, things of that nature. Pan, I use, you've seen my shrine, a Jägermeister bottle, and things that Pan traditionally would like, grapes, wine. However you see that archetype and however you can connect with it in order to bring it out of your inner self. Now let's talk just for a second about how we can institute this in a daily cleansing practice. It can be any cleansing ritual that you choose to use, whether it's the Kabbalistic cross, higher lesser banishing ritual, the pentagram, the middle pillar ritual, whether you just see simple visualizations such as those given in Constantinos' text that I listed earlier, Nocturnal Witchcraft, Gothic Grimoire. Nocturnican, again, he tells you to envision yourself growing above everything that is beneath you. You're envisioning that you are the creator, because that's what you're doing. It's exactly what you're doing. You're taking what is normally just an average, what everybody does, just doesn't realize that they do it, taking their thoughts and projecting them into making reality. Like when people are angry, right? If somebody's angry, they don't have to express it. At some point, people around them realize, what's your issue? Well, it comes off as passive-aggressively angry, or there's just something about them that everybody can feel. They don't have to express it. It comes from their thought. They create that reality with your thoughts. It goes from that basic all the way up to, like I said, writing a book and trying to not leave your fingerprint in it. You see yourself as towering over things, as being inflated. That's what this is, right? You're seeing yourself as above all that is. And that's supposed to be the innate understanding therein. And that's the hidden knowledge that people don't see. They get the visualization of, yeah, I see myself as big, but why? Let's just start with the Kabbalistic cross in this video, okay? The Kabbalistic cross, you take either your attain or the sword mudra, which is an attain without an attain, right? Of your dominant hand. When you vibrate the names, you vibrate them with your magical voice. It's that tone that vibrates through your entire being, that vibrates the atmosphere around you. Before you begin this, you should see yourself as rooted within the earth. So see yourself, see your feet growing deep within the earth and connecting with the center of the earth. Breathe in deeply, 3 times. Okay, with each breath in, you envision yourself expanding and growing upward. The first breath you breathe in, you see the earth beneath your feet. You're towering above. Breathe out fully. Press it out. The second breath, breathe in, expand your stomach, your ribs, your chest, full breath. See yourself growing above. The Milky Way is beneath you, but you're still rooted in the earth. Now take one more deep breath in and see yourself surrounded by brilliant white light above everything, but still anchored to the earth. So you are in touch with all. Take the sword mudra. See that white light as you touch your crown chakra and vibrate attain. And as you do so, see that light vibrating with that same tone, that same frequency. Point to the ground, to the earth, to your feet, to where your root chakra would be, your sacral chakra. But it goes through that. It goes through your sacral chakra and into the earth where it's anchored. Vibrate Malku. Again, see the light emanating with that vibration. Take the sword, touch your chest. See the light coming across to your right shoulder. Vibrate Vegebura. See that light expanding and anchoring into the right side of the universe and vibrating with that tone, with that frequency. Touch your chest and see the light coming across to your left shoulder. And as you vibrate the next sacred tone, it anchors you to the left. So then you're anchored at all 4 points of the universe, to the earth, to the essence above, and to all. You're anchored in the center. You are the center of everything. Vibrate Vegedula. See it vibrate, glow. Spend the moment in this. See yourself towering above. And know that with each one of these things you're saying, it's all that is. I am the force that creates. That's what you're saying when you're saying these things. Yes, you're invoking the presence of God, but you're bringing the presence of God from within yourself by realizing the archetype around you and drawing that out of yourself. Do you spend a moment here? Bring your hands together before your chest. Or if you don't like the prayer sign, come up into the yoga pose. Vibrate. Leolam. Amen. As you do, see the entire cross vibrating with that frequency, pulsating. Know that you are a creator, that what you think comes into being. Those are a few ways you can implement connecting to your Godhead into everyday practice, into a morning ritual cleansing. It can be any cleansing. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Remember, create your fate. You create the world around you. Witch or not, your mind creates your reality.
Not because they wanna do it, just because they heard it pays. And who the fuck wants to be poor, knowing that's how we've been raised? Society is getting heavy, I can feel the weight, the pressure of success.